Hi everyone, welcome back to Couple of Conversations. So today we will be talking a little bit about parenting in an intercultural relationship or intercultural marriage.
Main question, I think, from
Yeah.
both sides
Yeah.
of set of parents, like how
Yeah.
are you gonna raise your child? Like, are you gonna raise your child giant vegan?
And yeah.
Yeah.
And or yeah.
Yeah, and or vegan. um, so yeah, that was kind of like also raised a lot of worries, I think, from both sides.
Yeah.
It's like if he's getting enough
Nutrition and
like is he not gonna be deficient?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
these things. So yeah, I think of course like you need to know what you're eating.
Exactly.
You need to know how to balance your
Yeah.
diet
Yeah.
and all these things. Like that's most important. And
Yeah.
I think we kind of have a hang of it, like what we need to eat during the day to have everything that we need.
Yeah.
And also to pass it on to our son in that kind of way.
Yeah.
So like I think in the first 3 years it was actually very easy to raise him like Jan and vegan.
Yeah, it's actually not been tough at all.
Exactly, but now you can see that he's kind of starting to ask questions about it, like why do I not eat this and why do others eat that? And yeah.
But the good part is, I mean, I don't know. This is just me assuming what's going on in the mind of my kid, but it seems from what I can gather, and you can tell me if you are not sure about it, like from what I see, the way he's asking these questions, it seems more just as a form of curiosity.
Oh, yeah,
rather than as a form of, but I'm missing out on eating something else.
No, it's curiosity.
And he seems pretty like satisfied with what he's getting, the variety that we're able to provide to him with our diets in mind and everything. So yeah.
So yeah, but that's like we will see how it also.
Of course, how it unfolds further.
But I hope that we, like because we both think the same way in the same direction, that we can pass it on to our son. Like
and I think
he also, understands why we are making the choices.
Exactly. I think the more dialogue we have with him, which is what everyone should be doing with their kids anyway, the more communication that you have with your kids about why, not just like we do this, but why we do this.
Exactly.
I think kids can be smarter than we think. Like if you just
from a very young age. Really.
If you just explain to them the reason why we're doing this is so and so, like they actually probably will get it. There's a good chance, and then they're more convinced about it. Rather than we are just doing this, but at some point then as a growing individual, a thinking mind, he's going to be like, okay, but there doesn't seem to be any reasoning, like it's just I was told and so I do this, so maybe I don't need to do this.
And how is it, like a question that we also many times get is like which languages are you like giving along while raising your child, because of course in your house there are
we speak multiple languages.
4 languages that are being spoken.
Yeah, we speak many languages, so
it's even hard for me to like get a hang of the language because
many times there's a switch. Many times there's a switch.
Yeah, it's a mix of like Marathi, Gujarati, English, and Bahasa Indonesia also. So like
it's less with Bahasa is not so much. That's I don't know. Sometimes I think.
But still.
Not that often, but more with the others, like between English, Marathi, and Gujarati.
Yeah, and sometimes Hindi.
Sometimes also. Hindi. We somehow we know it, but we somehow within the family members we don't usually speak. More so maybe with someone else from outside the family.
Exactly,
But also so like maybe if someone's just even speaking over the phone on Hindi, you don't know what's going on.
So that made us also like what do we pick in language to raise our son in a way. So but they always say like you need to speak the language that you are most strongest in. So for me that's Dutch, and for you that is actually English.
It's actually English. Like, I don't know. Like, somehow I speak all, the other languages well. I've also studied them in school and, all these things. But I don't know. Somehow, I think overall, my English is probably the strongest language among them that I speak, probably.
Yeah.
So
that really helps, like many times I also get the question from other expats or they are constantly mixing up words and like the languages and all these things, but actually our son, from I think the moment that he started speaking, he really understood to make the shift constantly, like, okay, you don't understand Dutch, so I speak English to you. So then
I mean, the good part,
it was very clear.
The good part about that is what you told me in the beginning, that like we should be very consistent when we're speaking with him.
That's what I
about which language you're strong in, so that like not only does he learn the language correctly, because if I'm not fluent in Dutch and then I'm kind of making mistakes while speaking, and he's picking it up while listening to us. So while you're speaking it fluently, but then I'm adding like a mixture in between. So it helped that like whenever I'm speaking to him, I'm speaking in English, you're speaking to him in Dutch. And he ended up so far like being pretty fluent in both of them.
Exactly.
And it also helps that English is a common language for both of us. So we can also communicate
in English.
That way. But of course, we are now going to teach him other languages also one by one, slowly.
Yeah, we hope to introduce Hindi now to him. Like, let's see how that goes. Now let's go to a little bit more in-depth topic for raising a child in a intercultural relationship. Because what are the main like kind of differences that you have come across too?
Well, if we talk about like if we are seeing day-to-day things, I think one aspect can be how you are the aspect of, let's say, I don't want to say, you can say not exactly disciplining your child, like that's a part of it, but just guiding your child's behavior and everyday situations, how you handle that. So I think whereas one difference can be, in our case, let's say, is like maybe we are a little more protective of a culture with smaller kids, whereas y'all can be a little bit more bold and independent with them already from a very young age. Like let them already start doing these things and that kind of thing. So that's one thing.
I think that's a main difference. I think we make them very independent very early, from a very young age, actually. That they can put on their own jackets or their own shoes or their own clothes or, like start doing everything themselves.
Start doing small tasks themselves.
Also already in the house, like they also love doing it. So
that's actually true. That's what we found out. Like as the more you give him, the more excited he is to actually do things, and the pride that you see sometimes is like when he's done something for the first time or that kind of thing. Like you see him beaming with happiness, like he accomplished something.
Well, maybe maybe I don't know if in general that's in India, but like they're more protective and like doing the things for the child. Like everything kind of. And that keeps on going until like they're even
you become a parent.
Well, still it happens.
That's what I say. I am a parent now. So until beyond that, I'll say after that also.
Because still your mother is still like cooking food for you, and like it goes so like it just continues, like it doesn't stop. Like the mothering, let's say. So that's the main difference, because like here it's more like when you're 18, you just go out of the house for sure. If you pass 18 and you're still in the house, then something is wrong with you.
Yeah.
It's very, like I might say, but like, it's kind of like that. And like,
yeah, and we would be like, why? What's wrong over here? Why do you need to leave the house already so quickly?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Stay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but here they are like, yeah, okay, now it's time. Go.
Yeah.
Go. Spread your wings and go. Leave us alone.
Yeah. But I think it's important to have that like foundation. So I think it's good to make them independent and like give them, these tasks and stuff, as long as you also have made that foundation of like love and like this protective thing where like you give them the courage that you can do it, and like we are always there. We're there to support you, but you can do it. You can go ahead. Yeah. You have it in you, and we are always there, like this kind of support for them. Yeah.
Because I think we kind of found a beautiful balance in like both of the sides. Trying to set up that foundation and that care, because that's really something else. Like what's at least in your house, that's just like a
lot of care,
love, like full swing. You can say
overload of love.
Oh, overload, yeah. But what can sometimes fall towards like overprotectiveness, I think. But like if you can find that beautiful balance of letting the child be independent in wherever it wants and like work as a team to like create something, but from that foundation, that's just like what we have seen so far. That's,
and that brings up, I think that also leads us into another interesting point, is because as you said, like as we touched upon in this and also in our previous podcast episode also, that in our case and in many like East versus West cultural differences, you will see in the Eastern ones where there's more involvement of the family in raising the child. So that's also another thing where this is another important thing where like maybe coming from one culture, you're more used to like making the decisions just as a parent, like it's just you, because you're even living as a nuclear family, just the parents and the kid. And now like on the other side, then you're like living with the grandparents maybe, and there's an aunt, an uncle, all these things.
Great-grandparents.
Great-grandparents.
Are even there.
Yeah. So then of course you have their perspectives also in that, and then
it's more like what you would expect here, like, or at least what I have experienced, is that you as a parent, you decide everything, and you are the main caretaker of the child.
Yeah.
But in India, or at least in your house, it's really like, but everyone is kind of at the same level of caretaker for the child.
Yeah.
So like everyone has their part to chip in, and like their own, sets of skills kind of to share with the kids. So it's actually like very valuable.
It's good for an overall development, and just for the kid to see different personalities and just learn more about, like, there's not just one way, there's so many different ways and things like that.
And that takes also some adjustments, of course, at least for me.
Because then with the decision
figure out,
making,
but is this where
if there's a difference of opinion, and then like which one, then what do you go with? Because you are not used to something maybe, but you think that this is the way it should be, whereas maybe another person in the family has a different experience with the way they have raised kids. And then there's
that actually kind of comes back to that dieting also. Like, for example, to give an example, like here in the Netherlands, at least, like the doctors are very like, oh, don't give your child salt until like 4. Don't give it nuts until they are like 5, or like they might choke.
5 is a lot.
In that way, like the Netherlands is very like overprotective in that way.
That's true. I never thought about it that way. That's true. In that way,
because in India, like they like already from a very young age make like dal water from dal with a little bit of salt in it, like all these things, like they just
and the nuts part also.
And that was for me also like, but you cannot give salt. Like I was
yeah.
You know, so that was already like kind of like a clash. It was like, yeah, but then there's no taste. You know,
exactly.
To it. So like then the child won't like it, and you know, and some sweets, you know, like then here they say like, oh no, don't give any sugar because you'll raise your child being like having diabetes, and you know, in that way there's a lot of like scary things going on, thoughts and ideas. While like most of the people in India are fine.
Well, again, it depends from family to family, because the topic of sugar, like when we'll explore in our further episodes, like as we know, going ahead.
I'm talking about natural sugars, eh?
Yeah, exactly. So that's important to specify.
Exactly.
Natural sugar, not the lovely crystalline sugar that you get in the packets in the markets by the kilo and all these things.
More so like fruits, or like then the natural like jaggery, like the very natural one. You know? So that more like. Here they would say like, don't give them too much fruits because there's too much sugar in that. All that way. Don't give them fruit juice, the fresh fruit juice, homemade, like these kind of things.
Well, I think, and if we're talking about protectiveness, then I think the other thing is when it comes to like medical stuff. I think when it comes to kids, then maybe again we might be a little more protective where like if the child is sick, it's a little more concerning, you know, even if it's a small sickness. It's just not even a sickness, let's say it's just the child has some cough and cold, but like, you know, it's been a couple of days,
they need to just like sick it out, like, you know, like
they'll just get better, and no need to like show them to the doctor because they got a cough and cold, or if they're a little feverish for one day and stuff. Like, of course, if it gets severe, we're not saying that don't go.
Don't eat or drink, then it's a different
thing, you know?
So, then you need to be.
But not like at the slightest hint of being ill, like
having
just
a snotty nose.
And
in there it's more like okay, directly, like if it's just one day having a little bit of a snotty nose, like, oh no, next day we need to go to the doctor because something is off. Kind of.
Or a couple of days. I don't know about next day, but at least like if it's been a couple of days, it's like, okay, now like we really need to go. Like
well, kids fall sick, no? Like, especially if they are among each other, they constantly like,
it's part of their immunity developing process and everything.
Exactly, it's needed.
True. And then also I think it comes the question of maybe, we talked about already beliefs like religion.
I was thinking there are also like, of course, differences if you go to think about it. In the beginning, like I think I had more struggles in the very early stage.
What?
Like in the differences in approach, like because if you come to think about it, when he was a baby, and I was like, they would want to give him like a massage every day. And I was seeing that massage, and I was like, this is harsh. Like, you're hurting this, you know?
No, but wait, seeing this, like, you're talking about seeing it on, like, when you saw it on, like, videos, or?
Yeah, first on videos, I was like, this is what you want to do, how do you call it? The...
Malish.
Massage. It's like, and I was seeing this online, because I was, of course, like, they were saying, like, you need to give him malish. I was like, what malish? I was looking it up. Then I saw it online on videos, I was like, I'm not gonna do that to our son. It's like, this is rough. Like, go check it out if you don't know what it is. So like rubbing the child like this, like
well, it depends how you do it.
Moving the legs and the arms and like all these things, and I was like, those poor kids. But then, like, of course, great grandmother from our son. So
my grandmother, my son's great grandmother.
She did it, and then I was like, oh, okay, you know. But then I was still thinking, like, be careful, you know.
Still, you were very like, but do it a little more delicately, not this
softly,
way. Even though it wasn't like what you saw in the videos, maybe. But still, you're like, but do you need to twist it
like
this, like that? And yeah. But yeah, what do you think?
And then I took it over, but a little bit more gentle even.
Yeah.
Shh, don't tell them.
How do you feel about
the massaging thing? I think is very good, but I think it's good when the parent or a family member does it. I would not give it out to someone
else who does it for babies,
because that also happens. I know in India.
For sure.
Because I see it really as like a not like only physical thing, because that's many times like the idea like they get like physical strong and all these things, but it's also like a very, I think the main thing is more it's a bonding thing.
Yeah.
Like so valuable, so that have that touch and
true.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it was actually like a very good added thing to it. And then there was another topic where we haven't done that, because I was like, no, why would we do that? Is that shaving the head?
Shaving the head. Yeah.
What is that name?
It's called a mundan.
Yeah.
Mundan.
Exactly.
So you shave the head off at a certain age, like
mostly like 1 or 2 years or so. 2 years.
Yeah, I think already at that point.
Yeah. So still.
So some do it even later, but you can do it even from 1 or 2 maybe.
So like these kind of things sometimes are a little bit like challenging to like discuss, like why do we do it or why don't we do it, and it's not so much between us, but more so like the family wishes and like that more, I think. Yeah. Right?
True. I mean, there's like a traditional aspect to it. It's been done generation over generation, and this kind of thing.
Yeah. So there are more things like that, actually.
Yeah. No, but it's good. You remembered it, huh? I actually didn't even remember these things. The massage one, yes, I remembered about that. Yeah. True. Yeah. So basically, I think, as you were saying, like there are different like traditions that. So balancing that part is an aspect which will come into play when you are, especially in an intercultural marriage or relation.
Exactly.
Where they're both sides, are used to doing certain things for the kids while growing up, handling kids in a certain way. So that's it's a good example of one of those things. Yeah. True.
Yeah. And I think another topic that's really like important for us concerning like rituals or like religion, of course. Like for me, it's more so like just. How do you say it? Like live it yourself and your child will take it over.
Like lead by example, kind of.
Lead by example. The way you view life, and coming to think about like the spiritual aspect of like how you approach life, or how do you see yourself in life.
Yeah.
But I think more so like from the family or so, like it's more so like, but you need to teach the child. You need to constantly like take him to do the prayers or all these things.
Yeah.
And I more feel like, okay, but he will go there, like he will see you.
His curiosity will take him while you do the things
so
yourself.
Like, not saying like, you need to say this and this and this, but like, let him say it by himself, because he will start doing it if he sees it.
Yeah.
Like, there will be an imprint as well. I think that's also kind of like a huge, like
that's
different kind of like.
That's a different kind of approach.
Kind of trying to like figure out. Like,
let it happen the way it's supposed to happen,
exactly.
And with us, it's more like but let us guide him towards the direction, and then of course it's his choice what he wants to do or not. But so this is just.
And I don't know if it's coming from the Netherlands or like if that's specific to
like an individual preference versus a cultural preference.
Like maybe it is. I don't know.
Yeah, can be. Who knows? Because like even if it's someone from another faith, let's say in the Netherlands or so, maybe they would also, I don't know how it works. Like they would also be like, no, but you have to do these.
I think it
studies
happens
or
in many
parts of the
religions that they just teach each other this is how it is. So I don't think it will be like the way I view it is like how everyone in the Netherlands does it. I don't think so at all, actually. So it's more so
Well, no, not everyone in the Netherlands, but I mean, like, there are also families where this is how it probably happens if they are very into the religion. Some of them might be more liberal about, like, okay, when it happens, but some might be more like, okay, we are doing it, you also sit with me and listen and learn and this kind of thing, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah. And I didn't think like it loses the intention, from the child, because then you're kind of like pushing the child to do something. And I'm like, but if it comes from an intrinsic motivation from the child itself, then I think it's more valuable than it comes like when you put a child in that situation, because then it's just like, I have to do this. So that's
I think, you know what it is? I don't know, maybe we look at it in a different way, because I think the way we look at it, at least growing up, when like me and my sister also, it was just something that you kind of introduce them to. Like, this is also there. This is a thing that we do and we follow. And then again, it's, as we said, it's based on like giving reasoning and explanation as to why you believe or follow or do something gradually, step by step, as per their age and stuff. And then everything is actually like in an organic way, like, but it's just providing that environment or like giving that awareness that this is also there.
But that can also be in like you yourself practicing it every single day and a child seeing it,
so that's important.
It's already kind of exposed to it.
It begins with that, of course.
And the child by itself will get curious. Like when the child itself asks questions like, why are we doing this? Why? Because many times that's also when the child is really ready to like receive it, because then they are open to hear actually
information, the feedback, and
everything. Because it comes from within that curiosity so it's very subtle actually, but like,
I think this is
but that's
kind of
very
like,
nice to like also like talk about these kind of subtle differences.
It's kind of like natural curiosity versus stimulating the curiosity. That kind of balance between the thing. It's interesting actually.
I think like maybe with this is also kind of like the feeding part. That's also a big difference, I think, that I've experienced. Like
the feeding versus learning to eat. You mean that?
Because like in the Netherlands, it's kind of the child needs to eat by themselves, also like very independently, very early.
Correct.
So, and if they don't eat, there's like that saying like, they won't starve themselves.
If they're hungry, they will eat.
They will eat.
Versus
so,
we are more like no, we have to
literally behind the kids.
Running
around and feeding them in their mouths, like
running, telling them stories. The story thing is.
I'm now also part of that.
You're part of that tribe also. They're running behind the kid to feed him.
Well, that was for me in the beginning. I was like, are we gonna put all that effort? That's also a main thing.
It is effort.
I think. And there's also something to say about that, I think, because that's the thing what I've experienced myself. Like, at least in your family, I don't know if it's all in India as a general, but like the amount of effort and sacrifices
for
parents, or at least like mother for sure, do for their kids is just crazy. Really crazy. And beautiful crazy, but sometimes also I think like, are you also taking care of yourself a little bit?
I mean that's something where I think many mothers need to find the balance. Like, of course you have a child, it's your responsibility, and but at the same time you don't want to go to a point where you are suffering inside. Like, you don't want to neglect your own balance and your health and everything, mental, physical, whatever, that kind of thing. So it's important to find the balance while taking care of making sure your child's needs are met, child feels loved, provided for, well fed. But the story thing, that was another thing. We were talking about that, right? The storytelling.
That's true. That's also a beautiful thing that I.
Giving lessons via storytelling.
I know where you're heading to. Because like I'm just used to
read from the book.
Yeah, read from the book, and that's also like there are many times there are also like morals in that story.
Yeah, in
like,
the storybooks. Yeah.
Yeah, so like that the children read stories. That's always what we are taught to do.
Yeah.
Sorry, and then I saw something else. Like mainly, I think your aunt is doing that, like making up stories and really like integrating situations from daily life into those stories. And I was like, this is actually a pretty amazing way,
a good way
to teach a child,
yeah.
like about different ways of like why things are the way they are, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I love that. So I've now also kind of started doing that a little bit more. Yeah, you are a natural talent in that. Coming up with stories.
Well, it's just his,
Our son is just simply like hanging on to.
I'm the storyteller.
Like this, yeah. Another story, Mama, another story. Yeah, he's so excited.
Yeah, I mean,
it's nice. It's so good, and I think it really comes from like that gathering as like families and. Like sharing really like a sharing circle kind of.
It's a very sharing culture.
And from that wisdom, like learning. So it's really beautiful to like see that also in how you are all like also kind of parenting and raising a child in that way. So let
us know, of course, your feedback, what you thought about this episode, and any other those of you that are. Whether you're in an intercultural marriage or relationship, or just parents in general, and you find differences that parents come across, we would definitely be interested to hear from you.
Yeah, and actually, like what I was also just thinking, like cultural differences doesn't have to be like actually like different countries. It can even be in the same country, within the country, that you already have so many different cultural differences. So please share with us what are your main cultural differences, what you kind of came across to, and how you learn to cope with that also. So I hope you guys like this episode. We'll see you until the next time. Please like, share, and subscribe. See you.